Welcome back to another Bellator fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting some of the key fights for Bellator 244, Bader versus Nemkov. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight that I'll be predicting. So in our first fight, we have in the middleweight division, John Salter versus Andrew Kapel, or Kapel, or whatnot. So looking at this fight, there's a lot of stuff I'm bouncing around with this one. Am I all too interested in this matchup, or do I all too care about this matchup? Not really, but like before I really looked into this matchup, I was clearly leaning one way, and I'm still leaning that way. But there's a lot more stuff that's as uncertainty, or there's more to it than just when you just look from the outside looking in, or even if you looking, or at least from the perspective I was looking at. So look at this fight right here. I was really leaning heavily to Salter, and I'm still leaning to Salter to beat Kapel. One thing was height, although they're both listed at 6'1", and I didn't really watch the King Mo fight versus Kapel, and I just thought, I don't know, I had a lot of different thoughts about the fight. Now actually watch. I didn't watch it when it happened, and kind of just hearing. I just feel like either King Mo went out there was wrestling him, and then I don't know, was just old and couldn't wrestle no more. Then the guy finished him, or the guy kicked his leg out, and King Mo just got TKO'd. Just some fight that looked bad. But in reality, watching that fight, King Mo it wasn't like the fight really even got the chance to really fill itself out. But it looked like King Mo was like comfortable out there. He did look a lot slimmer than usual in that fight, but he was out there. He was comfortable. He was taking some kicks from Kapel to the leg, but nothing was phasing him. He was still in his face. He was out boxing, tagging him over some big shots, and was just kind of looking for, like, he was eventually going to find that big shot. And all that happened was, like, Kapel backing up, and he caught Kapel kicking, was trying to fire off on that kick, and Kapel just do a shot, and that, like, while King Mo had his leg up, he was coming in with a punch, and Kapel just met him with a punch, and then the TKO'd him or knocked him out. So either way, TKO/KO. So it was not like a fight where you could say, oh, it was like a lucky punch, or it's a fight that, oh, Kapel looks so good and King Mo looks so bad. This happens in MMA. You kind of see opening, and sometimes it's there, and sometimes people like see opening as well, and sometimes that punch lands but first or lands cleaner, and that's it. Will I say that's the best King Mo ever looked, or that's the best King Mo? Definitely not. So you can't say it was, oh, I don't know. It's like, really, to be honest, what I'm trying to say is you can't really say anything about that matchup that really holds anything good or bad for Kapel. It's a good win in a way. It's not the best King Mo to beat by far, but he won, and you can't really say it was lucky. So it's like almost like good win, and that's about it. So you can't really say nothing from that fight. But also, another thing I was saying, Kapel was listed at 6'1", but he's actually 6'3", because I think King Mo is like 5'11", 6 feet. So the height difference definitely says he's 6'3". So it's not going to be 6'1" versus 6'1". Salter is 6'1", but Kapel is 6'3". So Kapel will have a height advantage. I think he low-key might be the better striker, but I think Salter is the better fighter overall and the better BJJ fighter. I don't think Kapel's takedown defense is all the best. And it's not like we saw his takedown defense at all in the King Mo fight, so you can't really say that. And all the competition before then has not been less than stellar, and he has a 15-6 record, like 15-6 record, not fighting the best competitions. And he's been submitted by some of that competition as well. I think Salter is by far the best grappler he has fought. I know he's going to ride off confidence of beating way past his prime King Mo and worn down King Mo, but yeah, so he got a height on him. He got a good Muay Thai background on him. Got some little decent kicks, decent striking arsenal. So I think with that height and range in his like background and striking, he'll have the advantage on the feet. But I feel like once Salter can pressure, and I feel like he didn't do much of a good job of stopping the pressure of King Mo. And I feel like King Mo is a better striker than Salter. But either way, is that King Mo is kind of worn down. But either way, I feel like Salter will be able to pressure Kapel. And I don't think Kapel's gonna really do nothing to stop the pressure. Now what's going on, when you allow a guy like Salter, who's a grappler, to pressure you, that's going to allow him to open up with his takedown and his grappling. I don't think Kapel's going to have the best defense for that. Down there on the ground, it's just Salter's world on top. I don't think Kapel's going to be able to answer or respond too well to his grappling. But I feel like Salter kind of wears him down the first round, kind of pressure him, mixing the takedowns, and then maybe coming over top with the overhands, landing some big shots, making Kapel have to respond to those. And like just wearing him down and tagging him up. Then in the second round, he kind of rinses and repeats, get him down, then starts to really unload on him, and then gets him to give up a neck or give up a limb, and I think he taps him out in the second round. So in this fight, I got John Salter via second round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the heavyweight division, Valentin Moldavsky versus Roy Nelson. And let's look at this one right here. I think Moldavsky like 6'2", Roy Nelson like 5'10", 5'9", or something. And we already know Roy Nelson, so I don't know. Even going to the stats a little bit irrelevant in a way. Unless the guy was like super, super big, like 6'9" or something, and Roy Nelson was like 5'2", but yeah, kind of irrelevant in a way. But I see this fight right here. I think Moldavsky like a minus 1,000 favorite, so interesting right there. But I actually don't think his style is all that crazy. Like, it's so, like, I mean, like his style or what he brings is so much shut down what Roy Nelson brings. I think Ashley gives Roy Nelson a decent chance to win, but the fact that Roy Nelson has been skidding for many years and stuff right now, and hasn't been struggling to get wins, and hasn't been looking his best, you're just gonna lean to the guy who's the fresh face and the young up and coming or young rising contender with a good resume behind him, and he's building along that resume, and he got a decent enough skill set. But when I look at Moldavsky, I see a guy who doesn't really have the best striking, has a wrestling background. It's not like he's the most phenomenal wrestler either, or the most phenomenal grappler ever. He's big, got a decent little bit of power, but not the best striking, and he can wrestle. Is he like some phenomenal wrestler that just has such most beautiful wrestling and such beautiful takedown control? But matter of fact, I'm kind of knocking him a little bit, but his wrestling's solid, but I don't see nothing. Like I said, I'm not super wild about anything he brings, but the fact that he's younger, the fact that he's rising, the fact that he still has plenty of room for improvement, I think on the feet, in fact, if Roy Nelson really came on game, this would be a fight that he can definitely pull it off with upset and definitely win somebody a lot of money. But when has Roy Nelson ever been a guy you trust to win you any money? Like, never, really. Anytime it's a fight that he can really be an underdog and win money for you, more often than not, he's going to let you down big. So I never have bet on Roy Nelson in these types of situations. I kind of know his character in a way and his path, but like I said, Roy Nelson has a pretty decent takedown defense and has showed against some high level wrestlers. Has he been all successful shutting down takedowns? Not really, but the fact that he's not going to just be a guy that's going to lay down for somebody to just take him down easily. He's not going to make the takedowns too easy for you out there. And he can get back to his feet for the most part. And he got a solid BJJ background. And then he got his striking. I think on the feet, if Roy Nelson could even get anywhere back to when he was really knocking people out, he has a good opportunity. But what I see is Valentin Moldavsky just laying on him, clinching on him. And we've seen Frank Mir years back, even when Roy Nelson was really at his best. We've seen Frank Mir be able to smother Roy Nelson, tag him, and just hold him against the cage. So a guy like Moldavsky, who's big, young, and a solid wrestling background, in the fresher face and the younger fighter, I think he could put Roy Nelson against the cage. If he tries to strike with him, I think that's a badge. Stand in the middle or stand up close or stand at range. You just stand in front of him, that's going to look bad. Like, Moldavsky, I think the best path to make this a boring fight or a dominant fight, or whether that's both of the case, really to smother Roy Nelson. That's what I see him doing. I don't see him going out there trying to prove anything to Roy Nelson or trying to stop it so bad unless it's on the ground. I see Moldavsky smothering Roy Nelson against the cage, getting underhooks, putting his head underneath his head and head control, body control, and just locking Roy Nelson against the cage, not allowing him to punch, and doing that round after round. Then as he starts to see Roy Nelson fading, I think he goes for some takedowns, or maybe tries to mix the takedown there just so Roy Nelson don't have too much time to really be dinking out there, or try to create space to constantly have Roy Nelson having to work and constantly just draining on Roy Nelson. And that's really to see him pretty much latching on him like a blanket and just smothering him, whether against the cage or on the ground, for 3 rounds. So in this fight, I got Valentin Moldavsky via decision. Now to our co-main event, we have in the women's featherweight division, former Bellator featherweight champion Julia Budd versus Jessie Miele, or Miele. Either way, her name doesn't really come up too much significance right now. How I see this fight, how I see this fight going is that, or how I see these fighters, I see Miele as a fighter that's almost one-dimensional. She kind of strikes at times, but her striking look very sloppy. It's she's definitely, clearly is almost a one-dimensional fighter. Maybe by women's division standard, her striking is fair, but by any other type of standards of striking outside of a women's MMA, it's her striking is almost piss poor, really. I don't see nothing, no power from her striking. I don't see no great pace. I don't see no great It just look very sloppy, it's just there almost. That's what I see her striking. She got some decent grappling, but it's not like she has the most amazing offensive takedowns or the most offensive reactions. She has a decent, she has decent grappling, but she doesn't have all this. I can see if you're a one-trick pony or a one-dimensional fighter, and you just have phenomenal wrestling, and you have 1,000 ways to get people to the ground, and you're successful about half of those ways. You almost got I don't know. But how I see it, I see that she got a good grappling, but really don't have the tools to get it to the ground. I think she probably could find ways to get to the ground, just being aggressive and probably opportunities, but it's not like Julia Budd is a slouch on the ground either. So I feel even if she gets to take down, Julia Budd's going to be able to hold her own on the ground, probably be able to get to her feet. And really, another issue I see with Miele is that she's just not the strongest or most physical fighter. So she's already not the most well-rounded, and then she's already not the most physical. Now you're going against a well-rounded former champion in Julia Budd, who's very physically strong. It's not just, she kind of physically strong, you don't see it, but you clearly see that Julia Budd either just born that way or she be lifting and working out heavily. And I've seen her train with Rampage and stuff in the past, even before she kind of became a champion. And she's always been one of the people that work and train hard. So it's definitely not just genetics. She worked hard for that. But to get to the point, Julia Budd is a very strong woman. She works hard and trains hard. And she's going against a fighter who isn't the most physically dare fighter. So I feel like Julia Budd could really just bully Miele in this fight. Miele might have a grappling edge. I feel like she could shut down her takedown, probably reverse her and like control her and dominate on the ground if she wants to shut down her submissions. Or she could really just disregard her grappling, just pick her apart on the feet and just like bully her around the cage. And that's what I see her doing, just bullying her around the cage, being a bigger, more rounded, more technical, more experienced fighter. And like I said, just bullying Miele around the cage and not allowing her to get to her strengths. And I see but like the Budd bullying her. And I see Budd putting her away early in the third. So in this fight, I have Julia Budd via third round TKO. Now on to our main event. We have in the light heavyweight division, Ryan Bader, 2-division champion or you could say champ of Bellator for the heavyweight and light heavyweight divisions versus Vadim Nemkov, the rising challenger in this weight class. So look at this fight right here. I think this fight is interesting for the fact that I think Nemkov is coming off a win over Phil Davis. I don't know if he fought since then, but I believe he's coming off fresh off a win over Phil Davis, and he hasn't been active. It's not like Bader has been the most active either, because he kind of won that tournament. Then I think he might have fought one fight after that. So I think neither of them have fought in almost like 2 years. It feels like. I'm not even gonna look that up, but it's been a minute since they both fought. It's been a minute. So that's regardless. They both haven't fought in a minute. That's all I'm gonna say. So why bring up the Phil Davis fight? Because I feel like Phil Davis in that fight was like a 5-round fight. Phil Davis would have eventually just won that fight and took it over with that fight. Because I feel like with Phil Davis, he's a phenomenal athlete, one of the better wrestlers to ever grace MMA, one of the greatest one of the greatest wrestlers to ever grace MMA, and one of the greatest athletes to grace MMA. I don't know where I'm going with this, but basically in the fight with Phil Davis, I feel like Nemkov, because Phil Davis doesn't have the best striking. He's dissing all that, but his striking has never been all that great. Like, it's almost like he's kind of timid with his striking. Like, he trains it, but he's kind of not trusting of his striking. He trusts his wrestling, but not his striking all the time. And he's never been the heaviest hitter consistently. So I feel like in the fight with Nemkov, it had to take him it had to take him a little bit of time to really get settled into the fight and to really gain Nemkov respect, or really find, his opening for his takedowns, and really just to get going in that fight. It's not like it was such a fight where Nemkov was just running away with the fight. It was a very close fight that you probably could have even gave to Phil Davis. Like, they both were like close rounds. But I feel like Davis was landing, even in the Phil Bader fight, it's kind of a similar thing, but not the same. I feel like Bader was a little bit more clear with the rounds he was winning, whereas Nemkov versus Davis, the rounds were very, very close. I feel like Bader was outlanding, I feel like Davis was outlanding Nemkov. It's just the fact that he wasn't really getting off with his wrestling. I think also Nemkov got a takedown over him in one of those first or second rounds. So I think that's really what it was. It was like close rounds. Phil Davis was landing more, but Nemkov, even though it's not like Nemkov was landing no big shots to his chin or rocking or wobbling him, it's just the fact that, like, when Phil Davis lands, people don't really credit his striking as much, because they don't feel like, he's just touching him. It's feel like the other guy's shots are heavier. So even though you're landing somebody out like 2 or 3, maybe even 5 strikes, they feel like Nemkov's strikes seemingly being heavier are going to register more on the judge's scorecard. But either way, it was a very close fight. And then as the fight got in the third round, I think Phil Davis started to really dominate the fight. He got like 2 takedowns, was chasing submissions in that third round, but the fight just ended. So it was a close fight. I think it was like 2 rounds to 1, because only 3 rounds, so it had to be like 2 rounds to 1. But either way, it's a fight that Phil Davis just got off late. But I feel like with Bader, I mentioned Phil Davis, I feel like Bader, even though it's not like Bader's 2-0 against Phil Davis in MMA, I don't feel like Bader and Phil Davis are all that far apart. But I feel like what Bader presents that Phil Davis doesn't have is he presents consistent power that you got to respect, consistent striking, and more confidence in the striking. And since their wrestling days, Phil Davis was the much better wrestler and obviously the NCAA champion. But in like MMA, Ryan Bader had put on more muscle, got stronger, had won that Ultimate Fighter and such and such. By the way, I feel like Ryan Bader definitely is a more physically strong fighter these days in MMA as an adult and not a college kid. Packs more power, and that presents more threat. So he don't have to wait until later rounds to really get his respect or get going. From the very jump, Nemkov was going to have to respect Bader's power. And then from the very jump, that's going to open opportunities for Bader to mix in his wrestling or mix in overhands. A lot of times he mixes in, he like blends his striking and wrestling together so well that you're so worried about one thing that like you can be worried about a blast double or a takedown. And then you think of a takedown's coming, then a punch comes, like you lower your hands and he catches with a punch over top. Or maybe come around with a hook. Or maybe you're worried about the overhand, you block up top, and they come blasting through you with a double leg. So Ryan Bader presents like multiple threats that you wouldn't necessarily present from Phil Davis. Like Phil Davis kind of doles out volume there, he kind of awkward, but Bader is like when everything he's doing is a threat that he could be doing something potentially fight ending or at least fight shifting. And so I feel like that's going to open up different things against Nemkov. And when I see Nemkov, I see a guy that I don't really see like such a phenomenal fighter. He definitely got some powerful leg kicks, definitely got a good physical shape. I don't know if I've been talking too fast in this video. Maybe slow down a little bit for whatever reason I'm talking fast. But basically, I don't see nothing all that outstanding about Nemkov that presents against Bader. So if I was just go straight up versus each other, experience Bader, strength Bader, striking Bader, wrestling Bader. So like all avenues, Bader is better than Nemkov. I think he's even bigger than Nemkov, like height-wise. So, but when I see Nemkov, I see a solid wrestler or sambo or whatever they do in Russia or whatever, because they be doing different line of stuff. But solid wrestler, solid wrestling, solid striking, well-conditioned, and powerful. And that's kind of the same things Bader present, except better. So I think only Nemkov probably has better than Bader is leg kicks. That's about it. But wrestling, Bader got that all day. Striking, Bader got that all day. Experience, Bader got that all day. It's like every avenue. It's not like Bader is still, it's not like Bader's out of his prime. He's still very well in his prime. So basically, I just like kind of cut and dry right there. Bader is better in every area. And unlike with Phil Davis, Bader has the power that's to instantly gain Nemkov respect, which is going to allow Bader to get off earlier on this fight. I think 5 rounds make it a little bit interesting, but Bader is not one of those wrestlers that have a bad cardio. He can wrestle from round 1 to round 5, and that's always been something he can do. It's not like he got to the point where he entered his 40s or he just hit 36 or 37, and all of a sudden his ability to wrestle for 5 rounds or as long as needed has faded. So, like I said, I just feel like Bader can get off early, start to get the takedowns on Nemkov. I don't think it's going to be instant takedown, but I definitely think he could get Nemkov respect early. So I think even in the first round, if not the beginning of the round or the first 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or even like the last minute of the round, I feel like Bader can get takedowns within that first round. And I think once he start getting takedowns, start landing ground and pound, I think he really starts to shut the fight off. But how I really see it, I see it's kind of competitive. A lot of filling out, a lot of a technical kind of chess match early on. Bader probably getting a takedown, but Nemkov being able to scramble, get back to his feet. Nemkov probably landing a leg kick or two. But a round that goes, the first round goes to Bader. Second round, I think Bader starts to open up a little bit more. Gets probably 2 takedowns in a round. So Bader gets like 2 takedowns in a round. Eventually, I just think once start hitting 3rd, 4th, and 5th, or even gets there, I think really in 3rd round, Bader starts to take it away, gets takedowns, starts to wear on Nemkov, starts to like sustain ground control and top control, and starts landing ground and pound and weird, just really beat the wind out of Nemkov's cells. Then I think by the 4th round, Nemkov starts to breathe heavy, hands start to drop. I think Bader catches him over the top, drops him, and then chases a submission on the ground and taps him out in that 4th round. So in this fight, I got Ryan Bader via 4th round submission. And that concludes my fight predictions for Bellator 244, Bader versus Nemkov. And as always, thanks for watching.